one more mana. My name's Derek, and today we are getting right back into THEROS Beyond Death and taking our first look at a deck tech for one of the new awesome Titans. And today we're looking at Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. Very excited about this card. Very excited about a lot of cards in this set. And if you are, please go down to the affiliate link below with TCGPLAYER. I know it's kind of getting crazy now with these new sets. You get collector's boosters, you get regulars boosters, you get the full arts, there's alternate arts, there's extend, there's all these different things. Make it real easy on yourself. Just head over to TCGPLAYER. They are amazing. You're going to have everything you need there. Go ahead and pick and choose exactly what version of what card you want. Any cards you buy there through that affiliate link below will help support the channel, help us get out better content and more content. We really, really appreciate the help. Now, getting back into Kroxa. Kroxa is awesome. Kroxa is a 2-mana 6/6 that sacks itself when it enters the battlefield, off to a very strange start. And it has the old Titan, the old cycle of Titan, the text where when it ETBs or it attacks, you get an effect. This specifically is when it ETBs or attacks, each opponent discards a card, and then each one who didn't discard a non-land loses 3 life. Really cool effect. Then obviously it has Escape, which is, I love Escape. Escape is awesome. For Kroxa, it's 2 red, 2 black, exile 5 cards. You get cast it from your graveyard for its escape cost. This is an awesome effect. I love, Tasigur is one of my all-time favorite commanders, and you're exiling 5 if you delve for him, and then in addition to commander tax, and most of the time you never even notice it. There's always stuff to discard. Now obviously Tasigur's feeding into his own self-mill, so it's a little bit different, but black has enough stuff to fill up our graveyard where exiling cards for escape should never be an issue. That means no commander tax for this big old 6/6 with a big mouth belly that's coming to eat up people's hands. Now, there's something about that eating up of people's hands I do want to address, and kind of my general style for this deck. I don't want to just make it resource denial. It's one of those things where I don't want this to be the type of commander where people sit down, they look at it, and they are just dreading the game to come. They know it's going to be discarding their whole hand, top decking, and just a long drawn out game. I'm not trying to do that to anybody. I want it to be a fun experience for everybody. So, obviously it's going to be built around discard, but there's a way to get around resource denial. We can have a lot of group huggy, group draw effects, and essentially instead of just being group discard, it turns into a group loot, essentially, where everyone's drawing cards and discarding cards at a high rate, and then you get cards that punish people for discarding, and you can do damage and get different benefits, so that way you still have a strategy that's working without making it so that everyone's just miserable at the table, and mix in some reanimator effects with that, and we can take maximum advantage of this discard effect without ruining everyone else's day. I think it could be a really fun, it's not going to be the optimal, most powerful build, but I think it can cause a really, really fun group dynamic at the table. And hey, especially if you're playing against some mono white decks, some Boros decks, throwing in some looting and some card draw, they might even appreciate it in the process. And starting with the creatures, it's a multifaceted deck, so there's going to be different categories of creatures that we have. To me, the primary one is we want to fill the graveyard. So stuff like Golgari Thug and Stinkweed Imp are going to be phenomenal. Having dredge cards to just fill our graveyard up, perfect. Because that way we can keep dredging and just keep getting our commander out for essentially no tax and not having to worry about that. There's a lot of effects that duplicate our commander, but it is just great to be able to have it always on a moment's notice, have access to this big 6/6 that does what our deck wants to do. And then next we're going to want creatures that are going to cause our opponents to discard cards. Now, with the creatures, I wanted to go heavier. Our commander makes people discard, and like I said, we're going to be able to cast, recast. So we put a few creatures that are going to help discard, but that's not really the focus. We already have a huge discard engine in our commander. Now, wheel effects are great, so Magus of the Wheel is awesome in this deck. So it's a kind of a mass discard to get people to discard a bunch of cards. Love that in here. But really targeted discard, we have a few, but our commander, I really see as the bulk of that because that escape allows us to always have access really pretty cheaply to our commander. But these creatures do have to fill some voids that our commander doesn't have. One is going to be discard payoff. We want some of our creatures to give us payoff for these discard effects. Fell Spectre and Sangromancer represent just awesome creatures that give us payoff. Fell Spectre is hurting other people, Sangromancer is helping us. It's good payoff to have, especially when there's everyone discarding it, because it's not just target player discarding. With Kroxa, you're getting a bunch of discard from each person you can get over the course of the game. So these are a lot of triggers, a lot of cool effects like this that can slowly drain people, buff our life total, and really just set us up. In this case, this deck is going to be going for the long game, and this is going to get us in a great situation for that. And then, in addition, we also want to help people draw cards. I mentioned we want those group draw effects. We essentially want it to be at almost a 1-to-1 ratio to have this group loot sort of deck. It's a weird. I haven't built a deck like this because it's not full on group hug, but it's not full on like the Nekusar group slug. It's not that combo-y, that far into that category. Best way I'm gonna have described is group loot, and that is what I love. I like having these one-to-one effects. Stormfist Crusader and Sazon Perverter of Truth do exactly what we want. People are losing life, they're drawing cards, and giving us more discard fodder. It's great, and these cards, it's going to help kind of take the aggro off of you, allow you to get your engine set up, because to be honest, if I'm losing life, if I'm drawing cards in the process, I'm not that mad. I would gladly, it's essentially like you're giving away Phyrexian Arenas at that point. It definitely takes some aggro off you and lets you get those engines set up, and again, feeds people's hands to get more discard fodder. Now, the one creature that does the best job of just bringing this all together is Rankle. Rankle, Master of Pranks, is perfect. It can allow people to draw cards. It's going to allow people to discard cards. It does everything we want it to do. This little prankster is killing it in this deck, and it just does a great job of representing all of the aspects that we need out of our creatures. Now, with the enchantments, they're some of the just staples of the deck. Stuff like Liliana's Caress, Magrim, Blood Chief Ascension, all these type of effects that are just straight up getting rid of people's life totals for discarding cards. These cards are phenomenal. These are the pillars of the deck. Because every time, obviously, our commander is able to, make people lose some life from discarding, but this is guaranteed damage, and this is where this stuff adds up fast, especially if you have a wheel effect or something like that, people discarding a whole bunch of cards. You do some serious damage to people, and these are where you can have explosive turns and really just drain people out. Now, there's quite a few of these in this slot. I didn't just name all of them. Waste Knot's another amazing one where you get other utility. You can get zombies, you can get mana, all types of stuff. There's a ton of stuff in this enchantment category that's all fitting into that, essentially. There's a handful of cards where you're just going to punish people for discarding. But outside of that, there's some other cards in this enchantment slot that are really cool that I'm excited to see. Obviously, we're also going to run some reanimate effects, so stuff like Animate Dead and that type of stuff. People are discarding stuff. Well, why not reanimate it for cheap and get value off of it? But the one card I'm most excited about to see in this enchantment slot is Underworld Breach. Underworld Breach seems like a really, really crazy card. This is one of the new cards in THEROS, and it is literally, I mentioned this in the previous video, it's Yawgmoth's Will. It is literally just Yawgmoth's Will in red and in a deck where we're already filling our graveyard. This just seems dumb. This just seems like we'll be able to get into situations where we're casting cards 2, 3, 4 times a turn maybe if we have enough in our graveyard. This seems really, really broken. I'm excited to see it in practice, but on paper this just seems like an auto-include in any deck with red. I guess it's going to fill a graveyard. It's kind of specific. But at the same time, any graveyard-filling red deck is going to need this in there. And maybe even decks that aren't focused around filling the graveyard, because it just seems that powerful. With the Planeswalkers, we just got one. It's Angrath, and Angrath is angry and making people discard cards, and Angrath is going to do... He does what we want. People discard, lose life. It is perfect. Not to mention, if you are able to get to his ult with all the graveyard filling we're doing, is amazing. But ult's pretty far away, so I don't really anticipate us ever making it there, but... Magical Christmas Land, if we get there, it's pretty good too. With the artifacts, we have more of that group draw. We got stuff like Temple Bell, Fauna Mythos, those type of effects. Really everything we can just push into here. We're going to just force as many little group draw effects. These are great. This is exactly what we want to, again, fill people's hands up so when we make them discard, they hate us slightly less and give us discard fodder. Because that is one of the things with resource denial decks in general. A lot of us, what we care about is discard effects. And when we do some of our wheel effects, we want people to have full hands to get maximum discard effects. So it's not just us being nice. It definitely benefits us and benefits our deck in the process. But at the same time, it does keep off that aggro. And in a deck like this, it's not a competitive deck. It's not an explosive. It's explosive-ish, but it's not the deck that's going to win super fast. We have to keep that aggro off of us. And some of these cards like this will do a great job of that. Now, there's a couple cards in these artifacts that I really like because they have this weird kind of double utility, and it's Altar of Dementia and Mesmeric Orb. I love them for us because we want to fill our graveyard as much as we can so we always have escape fodder. But at the same time, because we're causing everyone to draw a lot of cards and discard a lot of cards, and we're wheeling, you can potentially mill people out or get them close to it, especially with something like Mesmeric Orb, where if someone gets a crazy board of permanents, they're just milling a ton. And Altar of Dementia, we can get in some loops where we can play our commander, sack it to altars, mill somebody, recast our commander, exile cards from our graveyard, resack it. Just get into a situation where we can keep milling over and over. I love these mill cards because you're probably not going to be milling people out super effectively as a win con, but they're great for you, and in some late game situations, they might just be that little finishing blow you need on somebody. Then outside of that, it's a lot of ramp, a lot of just mana rock, stuff like that. We're in we're in Rakdos. We need mana rocks. We're not going to be able to do land ramp like green, so luckily it gets to do so. We're going to fill a lot of slots with that. But the one artifact that I will mention, just because I think it's a really cool card I had never seen before and a little old, and it's Anvil of Bogarden. Anvil of Bogarden is great. Skips the discard phase, which seems super nombo-ish with our deck, but the benefit is at the end of that, you loot. Every player loots on their end step. So that's causing a discard. How often are players over 7 cards in hand? Not a ton, and just this is a guaranteed discard at the end of every turn. But on top of that, if people's hands do get too big, our wheel effects have an even bigger effect because it's a mass discard. Some of these damage effects that can cause some game-ending turns. So this is a really cool card. Seems sort of nombo-ish, but I do think it'll work really well with some of the other synergies. With the sorceries, Burning Inquiry, Dark Deal, and Reforge the Soul, that mass discard. 2 of these are, Reforge the Soul is just a wheel effect. Dark Deal is like a sort of wheel effect. You draw a little bit less back. These are just great. We want these type of wheel effects. It's going to cause, again, mass discard, but allowing people to refill their hands. It is phenomenal. Love these type of effects. Burning Inquiry is a wee bit dangerous considering the discards are random, so it could hurt us just as bad, if not worse, as anyone else. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's still all that discard, and they do get to draw cards. So again, it's creating that group loot. We're looting, we're wheeling, we're drawing, we're discarding, and getting all of those discard triggers. With the instance, we got our basic removal. Chaos Warp, we got Rakdos Charm, we're going to be running Bedevil, just some simple stuff. But the one card I was most excited about in this instant slot was Eat to Extinction. For no reason other than we got Kroxa in the art. We have this awesome close-up of Kroxa's terrifying toothy face. It makes me think that the big belly mouth he's got going on, I wonder if that's full of teeth too. It's kind of disgusting looking. But, yeah, man, if you get a card with the close-up, it's like just a little self-portrait close-up of your commander on it. It literally couldn't do anything. We got to put it in there, and we got to represent Kroxa with this card. Not to mention, it's really not that bad of an effect. Exiling something, all the indestructible stuff that's going on right now with the gods and everything, it's a pretty cool effect. With the lands, is Rakdos. It's 2 colors, so we can get as fancy as we want, put as many dual lands and everything as we need in there, or we can run a lot of basics. Whatever's on your budget, 2-color mana bases, you have a lot of flexibility to make it work. Some that I do really want in there, though, one is going to be Gyra Reach Sanitarium. It is a group loot. Everyone draws and discards. This is exactly what we want, and to have this strategy just printed on a land for us is phenomenal. Rix Mahdi Dungeon Palace is going to be a little bit meaner. It's just everyone just discards, but again, having these type of effects on lands, they're probably going to be sticking around. People don't run enough land hate, as I always say, so this is a great things to have just printed on a land for us. Speaking of land hate, Field of Ruin, there should be land hate in every single deck. I don't know why I'm saying this because it's going to hurt my decks more than... I run so many land matters decks, this is going to kill my decks more than anything, but I get into so many games. I love my Tassiger deck. I talk about it basically every video. And the real point of the deck is to get multiple copies of Cabal Coffers out. And I can't say how many games I do that, and no one has an answer. No one has any land destruction. Maybe one person does, and they're able to remove one little piece once. But it is insane how just little land hate I see. Whenever I play Template Discovery, very rarely will someone go get their Strip Mine or their Tectonic Edge or anything like that. Commander really has become a format where playing broken, overpowerful lands really goes unpunished. And I do think that every single deck needs a Field of Ruin, Strip Mine, whatever it is. Field of Ruin is an uncommon. It's just getting reprinted again. Listen, pick up as many copies as you can get and put it in every single deck. You're going to thank me for it later. It will really help you be better equipped to deal with just a ton of situations that otherwise you'd feel helpless in. All those Glacial Chasm type effects, when people get those Maze of Ith situations where it's untapping all the attack, just do it. It's going to make your deck a lot stronger and a lot better, able to deal with just some of the more annoying lands in the format. But that's going to do it for all the categories. Now we got to get to the game-winning step. How are we going to win the game in this deck? And there's a few different ways we're going to go about this. The first way we're going to win the game is just by grinding people down with these discard life drain effects, whether it's Liliana's Caress, Magrim, or the handful of others we have thrown in here. This is going to be the type of deck that kind of plays a grindier game. Like I said earlier, you can definitely go for the meaner version, forget the group draw and have only discard, and it's still going to be grindy, but people are going to have less answers. The way I see this going is, again, you want people to, they might draw into more answers because you're letting them draw. Your engine might be able to be disrupted. But at the same time, I do think that enough of these pieces will stick around. They don't seem super threatening. 2 life here, 2 life there. doesn't seem that bad, especially when you're not locking people's boards down. And over the course of a game, I think you'll be shocked to see how much damage and how much life is lost due to some of these effects. Now, the second way to win the game, in most decks, I see is a very, very boring way. But in this deck, I think it's just a much needed finisher, and it's Exsanguinate. Exsanguinate's great in so many ramp type decks, and this isn't really a ramp deck. But the thing is, with a lot of these discard effects, like I was saying before, you're going to be grinding people's life totals down. Where normally you need to cast an Exsanguinate for like 30 or 40 to just end the game. With the way this deck is, you might just need to Exsanguinate for X's 10 and boom, you just do that last little finishing blow. I've cut Exsanguinate from a lot of decks because I think it can be a pretty boring win con. But in this deck, I do think it's necessary to have a little finishing blow. The deck can kind of get into these grindy games, and if the people do kind of effectively remove all your discard hate, you can get in a spot where you need some type of finisher. Commander games all need to end, and I think it is good in a deck like this that's not going to have some combo crazy big turn to finish stuff off. It's good to have a card like this to act as a finisher and just get you that last bit away there from draining everyone down. And the number 3 way to win the game in this deck, and this might be the most explosive and one of the coolest, it's going to be Rise of the Dark Realms. This is just one of those classic commander finishers. I don't run this I actually don't think I have this in any decks, unfortunately, yet. But in this deck, it is beautiful because people have been discarding cards all game. They've been wheeling and discarding cards. You have some of these mill effects causing people to mill and discard cards. Yeah, all of a sudden when you get late and you cast this, you are going to have an army. This is a phenomenal card even in games where you're not concentrated on filling up graveyards because graveyards just fill up on their own. In this deck, it is, if you play this deck the way it's supposed to be and you get all these discards, you get all these wheels, and you cast Rise of the Dark Realms late, if it resolves that game, you're going to have such a commanding board state, it's going to be crazy. This is one of those, I feel like when I first heard about Commander, when I first learned about Commander, you always heard about cards like Insurrection and Rise of the Dark Realms and Blightsteel and some of these big, flashy, kind of old school cards that just were, in the past, would be the biggest game finishers. Now, they're kind of outclassed by some other finishers in the format, but Rise of the Dark Realms still has just an amazing place in this deck and can serve as such an explosive and awesome card. And that's going to do it for this week's deck tech. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what y'all think about it and about the take that I did decide to put on it, putting some of those group huggy effects to make it a more interactive, fun deck for everyone at the table. Do you guys have any examples of decks that you've done that for? Because to be honest, obviously everyone can make their deck as mean as possible, make it so no one else can play the game, but it is a social format. We want to make sure everyone has fun, and I think this is a great example of taking a deck in a direction to allow everyone to do so. Some more exciting brews from THEROS Beyond Death. I'm, not to get ahead of myself, but I'm like really excited for Ikoria, like really, really excited. I love big stompy things, and I think that is the whole point of the next set, so like, I'm already getting ahead of myself, but these next few months between all the deck building with THEROS Beyond Death and Ikoria just sitting there in the future, it's about to be a crazy fun next couple months. I cannot wait. So much exciting stuff coming. As always, thank you so much to all the patrons. We love and appreciate y'all so much. Tons of stuff to come. But until then, I will see y'all next time.